Hello everyone and welcome back to LSI. Welcome to the summer season Saturday tier Zandvoort round 4. Welcome to the Netherlands. Let's see what we can do here. The same championship leader as the Friday tier. Same championship leaders. Not to be the case though. As we see, I think it's just Haas leading the championship in this one, whereas McLaren in the other. Now, Heisler has set their lap time recently, P2, they've gone, and then they will come around again and into the pit lane. For some reason, there's a weird timing label that they actually set 0 laps, but they didn't actually set 0 laps, they set a lap already. So, a bit strange there with Heisler's situation, but it is what it is. Salkin in P6 on an out lap right now. We heard another car coming out of the pit lane, and that was Zingy, who had some technical difficulties but is now out on track and ready to go, which is good to hear. We were supposed to have a few more drivers joining us, but unfortunately some have not ended up making it, and 9 minutes on the clock, they might not make it then by the end either. But Samatson currently 8.6. hoping to be under a 0.5, they said before the session, where Heisler 0.9, trying to compete closely. Then we've got all the 9-second lap time runners of Bassoon, Jericho, Nifo and Salkin. A fairly competitive grid that we have today, which is good to see. Salkin on debut yesterday. They continue once again in the Sauber, having a pretty good start to the race, but unfortunately with the alternate strategy, once the VSC came out and then went back in, they lost the train and then accordingly lost the rest of the field. Had a brilliant battle though with Zingy and Terence a little bit later on. Slightly over the curb there, not exactly what they're looking for, but still going quick and quicker compared to their previous best. A 9.6 is their previous best. They've got 3 tenths to try and catch up to Nifayan. What can they do? Oh wow, that is somehow not invalid, but it's not going to be fast by going that wide. DRS and across the line for Salkin, and it's going to stay as it is. No improvement in the end, and they're going to have to go around again into the pit lane and come back out. Now it is a very short pit lane here, a very short pit lane. The out laps will be done, of course, and then the lap and then the in lap. But you can do maybe a few more. You can go out later on for your final run. So this is going to be the penultimate run here with 7 minutes on the clock. For Salkin, it might not be the penultimate run. It probably is still the penultimate run, and they'll get another one in. I just want to clarify that one there. Managed to eventually get what I wanted to say out right there. Jericho Willis, I believe, going to set a lap next, and then we'll see Nifayan, we'll see Heisler, followed by Samexon, and then Zingy. Zingy actually crosses the line to go P3 in 9.124, just ahead of Bassoon, and trying to make some ground on the 2 cars ahead. Heisler not too far away from Zingy there, so making some good progress. Here we go though with Jericho Willis. Podium yesterday, brilliant qualifying performance as well. DRS open as they go through the banking, sweeping through and over the line. It's going to be a P3 for Jericho Willis, almost 2/10 improvement and almost into the 8-second lap time margin. They're going to have one more attempt at that, and they've definitely been pushing a lot. So very good to see that. That's Heisler who goes over across the line, and they don't actually improve. I think they may have actually improved, but by a tiny bit. It's Samaxon who does get to the 0.5s, almost there to the sub 0.5s as they were hoping for. It is then going to be Bassoon and Nifayan to follow on, as it's Bassoon who goes across the line as full battery, so they're actually going to wait to go again, or they're going again now, and it's Nifayan who's got the final couple of corners to go. A little bit of an understeer moment into the penultimate corner as they really just tried to flip the wheel right, and that was frustrating there, but still across the line and nice and clean. 3 tenths, nicely done, and very close to the McLaren up in front. P4 for now, competitive stuff here in qualifying. The gaps are tiny. Soon straight into the pit lane, didn't worry about going again. They're going to go out for one final lap at the very end of this. Not entirely sure of the exact reason why we shouldn't go into the pit lane, but that's happened now, and we get to see the rest of the field out on track. Dalkey currently the next car to set a lap on their out lap, of course. Running a bright blue helmet in that bright green car. And although I think they rated this car as their least favourite, they've ended up in it and they've still driven it. So big respect for that one. It's just the way it goes sometimes, especially when you join later on into a season. The teams aren't always available. Delkin, P7 right now, 9.6. Didn't manage to improve last time around. They go again, which is quite possibly for a final time, but maybe now for the penultimate time. So I'm going to say penultimate time once again. But for the rest of the field, it will be for the final time in a few moments when they do leave the pit lane. Go again. Up the banking, through turn 4, third gear, trying to get that traction down as you can use it against or with you a little bit. And then you go over the crest, the grip can come away from you slightly. Then down the hill, 7th gear, down to 6th, but use the engine braking and get the car turned in. And then you've got the double right-hander that you've got to try and keep it flat in the first one, braking slightly to the next one, up to the apex. A little bit of understeer there for Salkin, which is going to lose them some time into the second kind of, not S section, but left and right twist. DRS open, and towards turn 11 and 12 they'll go. Up by 2/10, looking to try and push a little bit further, but still, that would be a little bit too far back. They're going to have to try and find some more in this final sector if they do want to get an extra position. For now, it looks like they're just going to be catching up instead. They don't go over the grass. Oh, they did. They did go over the grass. I do not believe it. And that is going to be still an improvement, but a big gap in the end after that. They would have been right up behind Pursoon if they didn't manage to make that mistake there. That is a shame. Just the way it goes. They are out on track fairly early and they can save some battery. They won't be able to pit, very unlikely to be able to pit at least. And then we'll maybe see them go again. It's Pursoon that next to go here in qualifying. And the Belgian racing driver, also heavy links to Dutch culture, as they are their second home Grand Prix effectively, and trying to get a good result. Not particularly wanting to race today, but we do appreciate them of course coming on and competing with the rest of the grid. Their favourite circuit, usually Australia, that is next week for us. Not entirely sure if they'll be there for that one. Anyway, here we go with their final lap. Zalkin will be looking to try and go for another run, I think. Right behind them, it's going to be Pursoon, however, to begin the final runs as 1 minute 30 hits our screens. It is very close to the grass, maybe even in the grass right there for Pursoon. On the exit, using the cover a little bit to open up the steering wheel. And the throttle bleeding it very smoothly right there, third gear, and then once again smooth on the throttle, smooth on the steering inputs as well, up the hill through the S's and over into turn 7, currently down by or up by almost 1/10 of a second, so improving. They would jump ahead of Zingy, but they would almost look at jumping ahead of Nafayan. If they found it a little bit more, they could get ahead of Jericho Willis. So definitely making some good progress. Nice and smooth through the acids. Nothing really to complain about at all. Nice rotation. A 10th again, still being improved, fairly stable in that middle sector. The final sector, they have one more opportunity to try and gain some extra lap time before we head over to the next few cars to set their next laps. But it's Bassoon across the line as they go very deep to the inside, to the middle of the circuit on exit. Across the line, it's going to be a P5. They just miss out in the end, and they didn't quite get there ahead of Nifo and Jericho Willis. It's Salkin who goes into the pit lane. That's their lap done. It's then going to be Jericho Willis who will finish qualifying P3 for now. Across the line for the driver from the US, and they don't improve in the end. They just miss out on that extra margin. It's going to be Nifo who will come up next, followed by Zingy, who's currently P6. They were P3 or P4 for a moment. Nifo managed to push him down, and they're going to try and push down Jericho Willis as well. They'll push down Heischler indeed. P2. Absolutely incredible for Nifo. And what's it going to be next? It's going to be Heischler who invalidates in the end. Zinging into the pit lane. Samaxon's the only one to go again. I do not believe it. A brilliant lap there from Nifo right at the end to beat Heischler, but the .501 is nowhere to be beaten. DRS available, and they're still pushing all the way up to the line is Simaxon, and it's going to be a .477, improving by a quarter of a tenth as well, just to add to it. That is pole position once again for the Polish driver. Brilliant stuff. Simaxon is on top. They'll start on the front row into turn one. Can they get another smooth getaway and have it a little bit cleaner, or have it cleaner than the rest of the grid, who will be likely going side by side with one another? We'll find out, of course. But Nifayan starting P2 on the front row of the grid. They had a similar situation yesterday, but they lost all of their ground because they got so much wheel spin as they hadn't done a race start in a very long time. But now they've had some race start practice yesterday, and hopefully we can see one of the Nifayan Classic race starts where they absolutely nail it. Well, Simaxon is the only car ahead of them, taking pole position. Nifo P2 and Heischler P3. The rest of the grid is on your screen, and we'll be back for the race. We'll see you in a bit. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? Simaxon once again on pole position. The inside line is not advantageous. Zingy pushing off Bassoon in the immediate stages as they get a great launch. But big contact there is not going to be ideal at all. Nifo goes from P2 to P5. Once again, the wheel spin is there for them. It's medium ties for the top two, the top three, and the top four. I don't know about a little bit further back. It's Nifayan who's trying to get the jump back on Zingy as they've just previously went down to P4. They do so, and they're on the hard tyre. Interesting stuff for the tyre strategy. Everybody on that medium except from one. And that is going to be quite possibly a huge advantage or a huge disadvantage, but not necessarily to Nifayan, but it's to everybody behind them, because if they lose the pack, if they split off, then they could be in trouble. Heischler, P2 off the start, manages to keep it nice and clean. So did Sir Maxon, so did Jericho Willis effectively, especially compared to what they had yesterday, as they didn't really enjoy the situation that they had with that one, of course. Now, once again, it seems to be that the microphone has just completely died. So I do apologise for this, but I'll try and fix it in a few moments' time, just as we cool down a little bit with the race. But right now, I don't think anybody's going to be overtaken. We all stay in the train, and we will get DRS in the halfway point of this lap. Hopefully we can have a little bit of a better time, but I think it's still a little bit tricky with the audio. Nothing we can really do with that at the moment, so I do apologise. But right now the entire pack is within DRS, so Maxon has not done enough to break away from Heischler right there. Heischler will get that back a little bit and catch up whilst they get into the braking zone. They've got to try and work a little bit harder to catch up as well in this braking zone, or in the next part of the lap, I should say, otherwise they'll end up losing everything. They do so. Does Jericho Willis hold on with DRS though? That's the question. They do, and that is very good news for everybody behind them. But with the cancellation of DRS, will that actually work out for Jericho? Well, Jericho is pushing on the battery, so if you look at the rate that they're catching, the Heischler ahead, and the rate that Heischler was catching Sir Maxon, then he basically got double speed down the straight there for Jericho Willis. That's very impressive stuff from the American driver to do what they've just done. But it's 9/10 once again for Sir Maxon. They managed to get there on the traction and enjoy the gap that they've gained. Heischler following on, chasing closely. There's Nifo 8/10 behind Jericho Willis. It's Zingy 2/10 behind him, and looking pretty hungry at this point. The S's right there. Very good job at holding on to that range, but it's a big mistake there for Zingy, actually. It's also a massive mistake for Selkin that we didn't get to see. Unfortunately, Selkin down by about 3 seconds there after being with the pack for a long while. It's now, of course, though, Zingy, who went from about 2/10 to now 9/10 behind Nifayan. So some sort of issue right there, and the top three are looking pretty comfortable. Almost looked like Zingy was going to lose out to DRS range, but they've just held on, and they bring soon with them. Now we watch the Maxon as they travel up through. See how they take it relative to Heischler, pushing on the battery a little bit to try and keep the pressure on from behind with Heischler, make sure that they are really giving it absolutely everything. Mistake there for the Maxon. They go through the left and the right. Maxon doesn't gain, of course, in the straights because of that DRS, but we still see top 6 drivers in the battle. It's Salkin, who I don't believe has damage on that car. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, no, they don't have any damage on that car. They're just a little bit of a mistake. Other than that, they're all good to go. They can stay in this race. Maybe something can come of it a little bit later on, but I don't quite know. It was Pursoon. No, Nifayan, who lost the DRS range to the cars in front. But Zingy, who's going to get a slingshot and try and catch back up to Jericho Willis just up in front now. Heischler catches massively as they go down the start-finish straight, and is effectively bunching up. Lap 5 out of 36, a long way to go in this race still. But Zingy has done a good job to try and make use of the bunching that's just occurred up ahead and allow Nifayan to catch up a little bit more. The two teammates behind them. Soon, of course, behind as well, on that medium tyre at this stage. Niffian expected to get faster around about lap 7 or 8, maybe 9. But whether they'll be able to get past, that's a different question as it is Zandvoort. Another 1 second gap is just a massive gain there. But thankfully, I think he's managed to hold on. He just lost out DRS. No, they just hold on. That's absolutely incredible stuff. It's Heichler now very close to the back of the Haas car, but no battery in it, no ability to attack. And it's Maxon who's ready for it, saving on the battery. They know that they can't be attacked and they're good to go. You can never guarantee how much DRS the car behind you has, so it is a risk by turning off the battery, but to be honest, when you get to the end of the straight, you can turn off the battery, no problem. That was a big mistake there for Heichler into turn 3 and 4. As they got some horrible rotation, still holds on to the 6/10 range and sits right behind the Haas driver. They've got their teammate for close company as well. If they make a mistake, then Jericho Willis is going to catch. Not only will Jericho catch, but they'll also lose DRS from Sir Maxon. So if there is a mistake to be made by Heichler, then Sir Maxon would break away. Likewise, if Jericho Willis was to make a mistake, then Sir Maxon and Heichler would break away from Zingy. And there'd be nothing they could do. That's Bassoon, who catches up as Niffian continues to have a few issues, unfortunately. Soon 7/10 behind within DRS range of Scotsman. These guys follow each other in the train. It's Niffo, who wasn't able to hold on so well with that hard tyre, is expected to get quicker and quicker, but is going to lose some pace in the short term due to the DRS train that they've got ahead of them that they're trying to battle against. Once again, Heichler following behind in the turn 3 and 4 complex. No overtaking opportunity for now, no overtaking intent either. The one stop, by the way, seemed to be the one to work yesterday, and I think we're going to see that again today. It's just how early will they pit? That 15 laps, 16, and then 20 laps on the hard tyre. That's what we saw as pretty much standard yesterday. So that's what we're looking for today. Soon, very close to the edge of the DRS range right now. Still there though, at least. And if they're just trying to hold on with everything they can. Heichler keeping Sir Maxon on their toes. And we continue to wait and see how this one goes. Heichler, 6/10 back. Would they try and attack? I don't quite think that's going to be a smart idea to do something. It would only help everybody behind and not really anybody ahead, including themselves. Might strike fear into their rivals' hearts, but other than that, nothing too much more. 3 seconds back now, Niffo is. They continue to drop on this hard fire. Right, we're going to try and fix some audio issues as we continue, so I'll be right back. Alrighty, sorry for the delay. Thank you very much for your patience. We rejoin the race now as it is Heichler who does get ahead into the first corner. And eventually they've made the move. As soon as we look away, action does take place on track. I do apologise for pausing or coming away from it just for a moment. But yeah, just has to be necessary sometimes. We just can't seem to figure out what's going wrong with the life. Seemed to be absolutely fine earlier, and now it's just completely broken. And I'm having to speak incredibly loud just to basically be heard by a tiny bit, which is frustrating. So I do apologise for this. Anyway, we're going to continue and hope that I can be heard as we race on. 8/10 behind Pursoon once again. On the edge of DRS right now. Nipper hoping their tyres will kick in at this point. 3.5 seconds with no DRS though. That's going to be a tough ask. Pursoon 0.7 seconds away now. They catch up a little bit more as this battle does bunch up slightly. And the benefit that Niffer has is by being on this harder tyre, they will pit later. If somebody has an issue, and they'll be able to jump them in the pit lane and go for the overcut. Disadvantage is they might have the slower tyres towards the end of the race, but at the beginning of the stint at least they'll be fairly quick. They're just hoping that they can catch up to the train once again. That's all they're looking for. Loud and clear, that's good to hear. I'm still a little bit frustrated because unfortunately it shouldn't really be sounding like this. It should be sounding a lot better and a lot clearer, as it usually does, but it seems to be cutting out when I going to the low end. I should know what to do. I've just forgotten because I haven't touched audio settings that much. So I'll figure it out after this weekend. I do apologise. Alright. Eichler, half a second away as they maintain the pace nicely. Samaxon not in a rush to make an overtake, it seems. But being said, they've not got that much battery, so maybe they are in the race trim having to look for a little bit more. Of course, they've got a double McLaren around them. That being said, Jericho Willis and Heichler aren't exactly communicating in the middle of this race, but they are, of course, teammates, and they're going to be thinking of each other when they're racing. Would they try any antics at this point? I really don't think so. I think they're looking to just try and get the best result for themselves, and in turn hope the team benefits from that as well. They're currently not leading the championship in the Saturday tier here, so they're looking to try and take the lead of it right now this weekend. And it's Samaxon very close to the back of the Dutchman, but oh no! Oh, what a shame. Battery being saved by Heichler. Samaxon still doesn't make the move. A big lock-up on the rear end there from Jericho Willis. Sees Zingy go straight into the back of the American driver, and now Zingy has front wing damage, end plate damage. They don't seem to be suffering too much right now, but a few corners time and they might end up finding they're in a bit of a troublesome situation. DRS they'll still benefit from, and because of the pack that's slightly bunched up ahead, they might be alright. That being said, Heichler's tried to break a little bit of a gap right now and see if they can do something about it. Well, Zingy still not over here, but they're gonna lose about 3 seconds in the pit lane because of this front wing change, which is going to be very frustrating. Maybe even a bit more, 4 seconds it could be, unless they try and stay on with this tyre situation. Nifayan does catch up as the tyres definitely do change, but it's going to be the pit stop, pit stop for, oh wow, okay, Jericho Willis, Zingy and Pursoon, but Pursoon speeding in the pit lane as they get a 10-second time penalty a bit too quickly in the bumpy circuit here. and Zingy didn't get a front wing change. I have a feeling that was a mistake and not an intentional move, because I think that Zingy maybe went into the pit lane immediately because of that damage, but just didn't select repair. So unfortunately, that's them staying out with this wing. But it's Jericho Willis and Bassoon who went in regardless. So maybe, just maybe, it was actually legitimate. Bassoon trying to catch up to the DRS range here, but with that 2-second time penalty, they're going to be slightly frustrated. It's Selkin. We got a 3 second just a moment ago, but they also make their pit stop right now. Nifo, 4 seconds away, as I don't know if they made a mistake or if they simply just see Bassoon, Zingy and Jericho Willis all jump away from in front of them. And that's what the gap was. That could well be it. They're about 2 seconds away. So yeah, makes sense if it hasn't made a mistake. It's just the rest have gained. It's going to be a 10-second time penalty again in the summer season for Heisler speeding in the pit lane. Samaxon goes into the pit lane as well. They come out right behind. Nifo is now promoted into the lead of the Grand Prix, but I do not believe it, as once again it's another 10-second time penalty, not only this race but this season. Absolutely incredible, and it's going to be almost side by side. It is going to be side by side, and Jericho Willis backed off and didn't want to go for it. That was a bit tentative. They try and keep their front wing with no time penalties maybe, but there was surely an opportunity there to go for a move. They do back off eventually, and they keep it all clean for now. But with that time penalty that they see if their a teammate ahead, they're probably going to be looking at something of this. So Maxon knows exactly what they've got to do. They've just got to get Heisler behind them so they have a car in between them and the next driver that doesn't have a time penalty to their name. It's Zingy with 5/10 gap to Jericho Willis, still holding on pace-wise, but with that damage, their life is not going to be easy at any point in this race. And Bassoon is going to want to try and get through at some point as well, but they've got that 10 seconds to their name as well, so they are going to be slightly frustrated for that one. If they're 13.9 seconds, they've still got another effectively 5 laps. They might go for a bit of a overcut, or an undercut I should say, as that is Samaxon going through into the first corner as expected. But Nifo, 15 lap old tyres, they're looking to try and go to lap 19-20 realistically. Everybody else has gone for a bit of an undercut, if not pushing on exactly the right lap. So that does make it a little bit more difficult, because now the rest of the field will be able to catch up even more so on Nifoyan, and as they stay in the train, they'll be able to minimise the damage that they have for the pace disadvantage. So, all good. Still quiet, unfortunately. There's not much I can do right now, so I do apologise, but we'll try and fix it for next time around. I really don't understand. I'll try one more thing. Actually, no, I realise that won't work because it's an OBS thing. It's not actually a microphone thing. I don't really get it. Oh well. I'll figure it out eventually. DRS available still for Heisler as Samaxon makes that move. 12.5 seconds now as they continue to take out chunks of the car behind. That's Heisler almost going into the back of Samaxon there as they broke very, very late. They do break away from Jericho, but Jericho isn't able to hold on to their teammate, and now it's soon ahead of Zingy. 6 tenths behind them is the Mercedes driver. And Heisler was lucky to sail that one. But the Maxon definitely seeming to push quite nicely. Would they try and hold on though? And bring Heisler with them? Well, they don't really need to, but they can if they want, because of that 10-second time penalty that Heisler has. Jericho Willis is the only one that they've got to try and make sure doesn't get anywhere near them right now. Bassoon, of course, is the following car. That is going to be Selkin retiring. That's going to be the VSC as Nifoyan just passes the pit lane entry, and that is the worst timing ever for Nifo. Would we see a two-stop strategy from a few drivers? I think we might see one from one driver. It's going to be pursued into the pit lane, and they will serve their time penalty. They're going for the 2-stop. They're going on to, well, medium to the end. It would be virtually impossible. No pun intended there with a virtual safety car. But they're still going to try it, it seems. Serving that 10-second time penalty before they do get a new tyre on. You do see that medium be added to that car. It's going to be really tough to get to the end. Really, really tough to get to the end. But I'm surprised we didn't see Zingy do something similar, to be honest. I thought Zingy might have gone into the pit lane and tried to get their damage repaired. That being said, they've got no time penalty, so maybe they're trying to take advantage of that. They've really nailed that restart, I'll say, as Jericho Willis has not done so well either, themselves. Heischler did pretty well on the restart, backed off, then got a bit of a run to try and make sure that they stay within ERS range, and they do so. But it was Jericho Willis who ended up going down to 3 seconds from, well, definitely not 3 seconds just a few moments ago. So that is another bit of a difficult one for the restart. It's Zingy who catches up and is going to send it to the inside line. With the damage, they know that the cars ahead are only going to break away if they don't try and push. Even with the damage, if they don't catch up to the cars ahead, they'll be fine. And that is Pursuit retiring. And that is at a very interesting part of the circuit. Nifo is now going to get an opportunity to hit. So luckily for Nifo, there's a second chance, but Bassoon having an incident at the penultimate corner and going into the wall on the upper side. That must have been on the exit curb. That exit curb is pretty easy to ride over. As we saw from Sir Maxon, they did that twice in the race yesterday and were very, very close to ending their race. Unfortunately for one driver, it has happened there. Now Nifo, of course, pitting a little bit earlier than they would have liked, but very close to their pit window. It's Sir Maxon who might try and go into the pit lane. Everybody would end up being on equal tyres. Eichler's going to have a chance to serve their time penalty. I really don't see another option other than to pit. And if they all do pit, they're not going to promote somebody into the race lead. And we're looking at them right now. Medium tyre is called. And Sir Maxon stays out. Eichler into the pit lane. Zingy clearly into the pit lane. And Jericho Willis just got a very late dive in. Hopefully, Zingy can get their front wing changed this time. When they do so, they might lose the position to Jericho Willis. Jericho Willis did have a slow pit lane entry though, so it could have just done enough. Will they do it? Oh, it's going to be a race on the exit of the pit lane. Oh, and Zingy's just held on. Absolutely incredible stuff. And now, that is going to be Zingy to, well, on pit stops, P2 of the race, P3 now, out of Heischler and Jericho Willis. Absolutely spectacular stuff we've just seen. Nifo, the first one to be behind Sir Maxon. They're going to have to try and do some crazy work on this tyre. Now, what Sir Maxon was hoping here was that the cars behind would not pit. And they would stay out. It was a standard strategy. They can go to the end comfortably. And maybe one car, aka Nifo, will pit. And then the Maxon can re-inherit the lead. And Nifo has to try and overtake all the other cars in order to get to Sir Maxon. That's not the case. And now you've got an entire grid of medium tyre runners that are all going to be absolutely equal. No time penalties anymore now. All catching up. Sir Maxon not going for that pit stop. I think they've kind of shot themselves in the foot there. It's not impossible to still get a very good result from this, if not still win the race. But as these guys will continue under safety car conditions for a little bit, they're going to run less tyre wear on their tyres, so they are going to get to the end of the Grand Prix quite comfortably. They're not going to be super fast towards the end, and Sir Maxon might have the advantage towards the end as well, as they're able to save some tyre wear equally under this safety car condition. But really, at least in my opinion, and if I was in some accident situation, I would have wanted to make a pit stop. All it does is makes us have a very interesting race, and we have some strategy to look into. We also have an incredible mix. We've got Nifo, who did start the race from P2. After having a bad start, they dropped down, as Heischler was P3 and then inherited that P2. So Nifo's now going to get a second opportunity at starting in P2, but in the middle of the race for a rolling start. The Scotsman also manages to gain from this. Heischler losing out, of course, and Jericho Willis losing out as well. So a bit of a mix. 2 DNFs so far this evening is a hell of a shame, but it's the way it goes and it's the race that it's given us now. There is the safety car in this lap. It's Sir Maxon who will lead the way and Nifo who will be reacting. And very, very slow here into turn 12. Sir Maxon leads the way. When will they go for it? The safety car comes into the final corner now. They'll have to get to the penultimate corner, but travelling slowly, very close to the back of that Haas car. And Sir Maxon pushing for it very early on. That's a brilliant reaction from Nifo Yan, and I don't think they're going to take a second invitation. They're going to try and go for it to the outside line. On the brakes, the grip is there, and Sir Maxon all the way tight to the inside, tried to leave space but compromised their exit. And now Nifo Yan leads the Grand Prix by 4 tenths immediately. Zingy trying to have a go on the traction, not quite able to get anything done, as they still see the Haas driver hold on and defend that position as they swooped across as they went up the hill to make sure that there were no ideas from the Mercedes. Now, can Sir Maxon switch on these tyres and still get some performance by the time they get to the DRS window and then hold on to the second range? I don't quite know, but that is absolutely incredible there for Nifo. 7 tenths, they need to try and break away for as quickly as they can. Now, the next DRS straight is the start-finish straight, and the next one is the one that we're going through now. So basically, Nifo's got another half a lap to try and break away on a grippier tyre against a harder tyre. Zingy has to push on the battery. They've got no option here because they know that Nifo's going to be doing that. Lap 23 out of 36 is upon us, and it is crunch time. But I think Sir Maxon wants to defend it. They want to stay ahead. Zingy's not happy. He goes to the inside line. There's contact between the two. We saw contact at turn 1 last time around. It went a very different way. The inside line is to the Scotsman, and it's still another attack. They're trying to defend as Sir Maxon. That's not going to work out, and Zingy's going to get the run anyway as they go down through the S's, turning off the battery of Sir Maxon, eventually giving in, but now 1 second away. Going to the inside line, compromising their line and allowing Heischler to have a go on the inside, and Sir Maxon loses out even more. They're now going to go back to the inside to fight Heischler, but that's just going to lose them more time. And I don't know quite what's happening here, but Zingy might even be able to break away a second from Heischler as well. Absolutely incredible stuff here. DRS is just available for Heischler, so they're able to be saved by that. Unless they make a mistake, they are good to go, and they will hold on to Zingy. But 1.4 seconds is the gap, and Nifo is loving this at the moment in clean air. Zingy effectively in clean air as well. Both of these drivers have won the Dutch Grand Prix in the past, and it's now Jericho Willis who will also push ahead. It's Heischler who tries to get a massive slingshot, but it's the McLaren driver who also tries to hold on to DRS of the cars ahead by making that move. And now Sir Maxon goes from P1 to P5 in 2 laps. The Heischler did gain 2 tenths down the straight as they worked together with Zingy there. But in the rest of the laps so far, and we're about halfway through it now, they've actually lost another 2. They've regained it, so they're on net 0 now. 2 Nifo Yan just up ahead. But really, they need to be doing a bit more. We've got about 12, 13 laps of this race remaining. Just under that, potentially. And it's going to be a long old stint for the medium tyre runners, that's for sure. But it's going to be a crucial one, and no one can make mistakes. That is the long and short of it. Zingy finally gets the full front wing and is able to attack. As you could see, they did try to attack very, very aggressively on their restart, as they had to. They didn't have a choice, and they had to try something to catch up to Niffo. Heischler has managed to get ahead of Zingy in the end on DRS to try and slingshot, and they're actually very quick in a straight line, is the Dutchman. But the other Dutchman seems to have the advantage in the corners. That's Nippoyan in P1. The RB versus the McLaren. And funnily enough, Zingy has raced for both the teams in front of him right now, and the team that he's driving for right now, and has won championships in all three of the cars. That's just a random stat that I figured out, and I'd let you know. DRS will be available with lots of DRS in that car, and I think Niffo's going to be losing out a little bit in the straight situation here. Of course, as said, Niffo does have the advantage in the corners, but now with Heischler catching up in the straight line there, and has actually managed to catch up in a couple of corners just there. DRS being used by the Scotsman, and Zingy is going to be able to catch up and potentially bring that DRS range completely to zero. And the fastest lap for the Scotsman as well in the meantime. So making brilliant progress right there. Now 1 second is the margin. All they need to do is get one more tenth and they will be able to get there. But that was a big risk. They've used a lot of battery. They've got a little bit more to go. Niffo is not able to hold on any longer as he continues to push on this lap. 7 tenths. And now Niffo's got to try and figure this one out. That being said, Niffo's been one of the best ever to race in a train. They know what they're doing, and we've seen them win many races in the past. So it's not going to be an easy task at all. Zingy's won many races in the past in trains as well, but they don't really like the trains as much. Erica Willis never won an LSI F1 race. Could today be the day? Heischler, one victory to their name. Could they get a victory at their home Grand Prix? And it is Samakton, the multiple race winner and the reigning champion for the F1 tier and the championship leader right now, but it doesn't matter at this stage of the race. It's another fastest lap from the Scotsman. It was a defensive throw, or at least just a communication manoeuvre from Zingy to the inside line, maybe to break toe, I'm not entirely sure. Nothing really to worry about for either driver. And it's Niffo who stays ahead, and Zingy doesn't wish to go for the move. We've got just under 10 laps of this race remaining, and we see the two old teammates up front, close to each other, and trying to keep back the two McLarens as they try and fight for the victory in the final laps. Their best interest is to make sure that they keep this train as it is for as long as possible, so they stay where they are. And by doing that, they'll make Heischler have to push hard, and they'll have to force Heischler into some very, very aggressive overtake attempts. If they want to do it, they could end up losing out, they could make mistakes, they could lose their front wing. But it's always frustrating to follow in a train that doesn't want to overtake each other. And you can see what Zingy's doing here. They're backing off, saving battery, making sure that they don't gain too much throughout the final part of the lap, the final sector. And then on the straight, they gain it all back on the DRS. They don't save the DRS there, they save it in the corners, because then they aren't going to be possibly affected by Heischler in the straights. What happens is, if you turn off the battery in a straight line, then the other cars around you might turn it on, and then you're screwed all the way down to the end of the straight. By turning it off in the sector, you can defend whilst turning that battery off, and then if you've got a clear run ahead of you, you can then just push and have no problems, and the car behind has a bit of a harder time, really. It's not impossible to combat, but it's just harder to do. It creates more resource to be used by the car behind. So Heischler is going to be forced to either push really hard to try and make a move or sit behind. Right now, we see them sitting behind. They were very close actually in the first sector after the start-finish straight, but other than that, not really worrying about it too much. That's 6 5 or 6 tenths now that Zingy's got a little bit more of an even gap this time. You can see they're wiggling. They're trying to communicate with the cars around them to try and work in unison. And that is more likely for a communication to Nifoyan up ahead to try and keep down Heisler, because at this stage there is no reason for Heisler to stay in P3. There is a small reason why Heisler would stay in the P3, and that's because maybe if they stay in P3 they could get a double overtake at the end if Nifo and Zingy fight each other crazily. You know, that's alright, but definitely for this guy, staying P4, there is no reason, and definitely no reason, because they've got a car that's going to get faster and faster with the tyre wear that they've got, the tyre compound I should say that they've got. They're going to be fairly equal with everybody later on, and they want to try and gain a little bit more, but they can't because they're behind their teammate and they're in a DRS train, so they're just basically gridlocked. They either have to go aggressive on their teammate or they have to sit there and pray for something to happen. I would hate to be Jericho Willis right now in this train, because that is absolutely brutal. You can't get much worse than being P4 in the train with a car that is inevitably going to get faster and faster or more even with you on tyres as you continue throughout the race. The inevitable for them looks like it could be coming. Nifo still holding on, no mistakes for them, and 4 tenths ahead. Zingy, of course, trying to fight this one out. Now, what we've seen in the past is that this circuit, you overtake on the start-finish straight before the end, and then you can win the race. However, since the update, the DRS is a lot longer. The DRS zone is a lot longer up to the first corner, and now it's possible to stay ahead. Stay behind all the way up to the penultimate corner and get a good exit. You have to guarantee that good exit, and basically your entire race result is up to 1 corner. So you have to really work on it very well, but it's not impossible for somebody to overtake on the final corner of the race. Could we see that be the case? I don't quite know, but Nifo will have to make that decision a bit closer to the time of whether they want to be P1 or P2 in the train. But knowing Zingy, he's not going to try and push if he doesn't have to. He wants to make sure that he's sat in P2 and controlling the race. You may think it's a little bit confusing because Nifo's controlling the pace, but they're not necessarily controlling the race. Controlling the pace is what Nifo's doing, controlling the race is what Zingy's doing as they're in this train. And now they're going to have to try and change the situation of their race, and consequently, I should say, change the situation of everybody's race, because they were very, very nearly under threat from Heisler. I think it might be averted now, and they might not need to worry. But because Heisler was so close to them just for a moment there, they may have had to go for a move on Nifo, and that would have caused all sorts of chaos, because now everybody is jumbling up and people think everybody's pulled the pin when they maybe haven't, and then all the moves are thrown. It's going to be Heisler who looks to go for the move on the Scotsman. The inside line, will it be chosen? It will be chosen, and it's going to be tight into turn 1. The outside line, though, for the Scotsman is always going to be advantageous. A brilliant effort from Heisler, but just not enough. And Nifo did that very, very well. The 2 cars behind were incredibly quick right there, and they were in the mirrors, gaining. Zingy wasn't close enough to make a safe move. If Zingy tried to launch a move down the inside to make sure that they didn't lose out to Heisler behind, they would have been in big trouble, and there could have been a big crash. Zingy luckily didn't do that, and they managed to defend the position in a much better way. But that was an attempt there from Heisler that just didn't quite work out, and that's a lot of battery used. They're basically going to have to now save battery and hope that they can go again towards the end. What they tried to do there was go for an attack, get ahead, and then go for a final attack at Nifo at the end of the race. That's why they did it on lap 32 and not a little bit later on. Now they've got a couple laps to save, but now they've got to recoup and go again a little bit later on. And naturally, they've lost a bit of performance, so that's why you can see now Zingy getting very close and Heischler not so close. It's all tiny margins. So I'm looking into it in lots of detail. I'm just trying to see what the mindsets of the drivers might be as they continue to drive. Niffo is thinking he's an absolute legend because he's leading the race. Nope, he's definitely pretty stressed and trying to think of how he can win this one. And Zingy is thinking exactly the same thing. Heischler is thinking exactly the same thing. Jericho is thinking, how can I get ahead of everybody and surprise everybody? P4 is not the best place to be in the train, but at least I'm ahead of P5, which is Sir Maxon, who is thinking, when will these tyres get back into a window that I can be competitive on? They've had a couple of laps to save these tyres, but with the train and with the aggression of the cars ahead, as they know what's at stake, I don't quite know how easy this is going to be, or how really, if there's going to be a chance for Sir Maxon to actually do anything. Obviously, fighting could definitely bunch up the pack and they could have a go, but for now it's going to be as it is. Jericho Willis is not able to challenge their teammate, but it is Heischler who makes a mistake in turn one and goes very deep. They're going to lose some performance as they go into the following corners. Not enough as the corners come up very quickly, but if that was a straight right there, then Heischler would have been in big trouble from their teammate. And they are actually continuing this bad momentum because that's 7/10 a gap they have now to Zingy and only 2 to Jericho Willis. Jericho Willis under major pressure from the Haas driver. Would they try and go for the move and ruin their teammates' chances? I don't know, but they've got to try something surely. We're coming to the penultimate lap of the Grand Prix. And it's becoming crunch time. Heischler finds a little bit there in the mid part of the lap and has a great ability to catch back up. Would they try and attack now? I think it's their best chance if they do want to go for victory. Zingy is going to try and stay behind, but they might have to just go for the move. They do go for the inside line, and Niffo sweeps around the outside to continue on a good trajectory. Heischler tried to get a bit of an undercut by cutting into the inside line and then getting a jump on Niffo, but it didn't work out. They had too much steering lock. They tried to put the throttle on with the worn tyres, and they got a massive snap of oversteer. Absolutely brutal from Heischler, and now they've got one opportunity at trying to get 2 cars in one overtake. That's going to be impossible, yet possible. Jericho Willis, everything matters now, but no, it's not going to make a difference. Sir Maxon goes off. I do not believe it. Massive off there for Sir Maxon, and everything that Jericho Willis was trying to hold on to now doesn't matter, and now it's full attack on their teammate ahead. Would they try and go for a dive bomb in the final moments? I don't know, but here comes the final lap of the Grand Prix. And it's go, go, go. When will you go for the overtake? Is it down the start finish straight here, or is it up to the line at the end of the race? Niffo is going to go for the outside line as Zingy goes defensive, swooping again. There's a bit of contact as they wheel back through, but Niffo surely going to have it on the traction. A brilliant move, but it's not over yet. It is not over yet. Zingy taking a very different line as they go up the hill, trying to make sure that they gain everything they can, straightening the car. Niffo takes a traditional line and tries to hold on. They've got 2 DRS zones to go. One that isn't really effective, but one that's up to the line. A big wobble on the front end as these tyres are absolutely worn to the rim right now. And then they've got to go and finish the race. But there's an opportunity for Zingy to get a move up to the line, as Niffo did on Dave Raptors in the US tier a few years ago. Niffo rounds the penultimate corner in the lead of the Grand Prix, of their home Grand Prix. DRS available. What's it going for Zingy? What's it going to be? I think Niffo's just done it. Niffo is going to win the Dutch Grand Prix. Absolutely incredible. Zingy to P2. It's Jericho Willis who does jump ahead of their teammate in the end. It's 2 tenths in it by that point. And it's Sir Maxon with a really disappointing race in the end. Really tough luck there for the pole. P5 for them, but Nifo is on top. Qualifying P2 and going to P1 doesn't tell you half of the story. Wow. Wow. What a race that was. Doesn't matter how many drivers you have on the grid. It can always be a classic. That is Nifo to P1. Absolutely incredible stuff right there. Zingy in P2 and then Jericho Willis in P3. Heischler and Sir Max on P4 and 5. Pursuing DNFing earlier on and Selkin in P7. That is fastest lap there for Zingy as well. No point, unfortunately, but good bragging rights to have for sure as they made their charge beforehand. That is the race director, and we'll be back in a little bit for the post-race interviews. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Dutch Grand Prix. That was absolutely incredible, drama everywhere. I don't know where to start, but I do know where to start. You start with Nifo, and that was absolutely insane. Thursday, before the race weekend, I'm sure you weren't expecting that one. Another pretty good qualifying, but a terrible start to the race. You managed to have a bit of a better time towards the end after the safety car. Maybe that was a little bit fortunate, but I have to say you held on to it very well towards the end.
Yeah, I think I basically duplicated the first part of the race I did yesterday. I think even my quality time was also a 0.9, which, I mean, I know I could do better, but I think with my capabilities now, it's a good lap. And it was P2 as well. Again, even with practice this time, I wheel spin off the line and lose like 8 places. I lose like 4. And from there on, I think I think everybody was a lot faster than yesterday, and I kind of got in my own head, even though I was the only hard runner, and I was just pushing a lot without just doing my own pace, doing my own race. It's a recurring problem, I think, this game, where I do that, and I just started making mistakes, and yeah, just lost loads of time, and then I started catching up again. Everybody pit, and then at that point the VSC was kind of unfortunate because I just got past the pits. So I thought, oh well, like this is gonna be nothing now. And then I got incredibly fortunate, which I will take, because I mean every driver says they're really unlucky, but I'll say it, I've been unlucky a lot, so I'll be Mr. Lucky for once. So yeah, and then I think on the mediums it was a really good stint. I barely made any mistakes. And no mistakes of significance basically, and I think the racing went well. I made the moves when I needed to, and held on when I needed to. So it was fun. The last part of the race, and I'm really happy with the safety car. Otherwise, I would be very sad with my performance in that first stint. So I will gladly take it, and it was a lot of fun.
So, from comparison to the beginning of the race and the ending of the race, you said that you kind of got in your own head at the beginning. Can you now define the difference between the two? Do you know what you need to feel to get into that winning state as you did towards the end?
Yeah, I think it's just also a bit of preparation. I kind of just need to tell myself before the race, like, just do your own pace. It's in the wet, especially. I try to like push with people who are a lot faster in the beginning, and I think if I just do my own pace and just don't make mistakes, I naturally catch up. A bit. I might not be on their pace, or I might be a few seconds behind, but it's better than just being 5 seconds behind just because I'm pushing everywhere and going sideways. So just a bit more mental preparation, and then a lot of the races will go a lot better.
Awesome stuff. Glad to hear that one. Australia, very different circuit. Do you like that one?
I don't like it. I hope Pursoon has an injury so he doesn't race, so I can have a better position. And yeah, I don't like it. My pace not great, doesn't suit my driving style, like I said yesterday, but we will try our best.
Well, I hope he doesn't get an injury, but I want to say enjoy this one. Well done on your home Grand Prix, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Heisler. That was tough. First of all, brilliant start, getting up to P2 nice and cleanly, and then some good running all the way to the pit stops. Are you happy with that race, the way you drove it? It's just a little bit unfortunate.
I mean, I have been unsure about my pace or about my abilities on this game, so apart from the penalty, yes, I am happy, but it's just insanely frustrating, and I'm really fucking pissed because of that 10-second penalty, because I know I had a lot of penalties before already, and I didn't even I want to say words. I didn't even push into the pit lane, and I still locked up and still got a penalty, and I'm fucking I'm so done with keep getting those penalties, because I actually think I might have been the quickest on race pace this time on track. I had a lot of hard work to do at the start of the race to keep within the rest of Simaxon, but I feel like we both kind of pushed to him to get me out and me to stay in. So, and I slowly every lap got further into his DRS, so I would say I might have been the quickest driver on track today. So it's even more frustrating that it has to go like this. I had a great shot at the win, but it's sadly not the case.
So 10-second time penalty not served in the pit lane. Do you think you could have been P1?
Yes, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, that's frustrating. Well, I mean, you still no, it's a tough one, and I'm really sorry for that. But you still did a very good drive, and I think you should be happy that we do recognise it. It's not like it's gone completely ignored. Australia, very different circuit. It's it can be quite good. Do you like that circuit? Do you like the nature of it?
Well, Friday is gonna be a tough one since I will be back from a holiday on that day, so I don't know if I will be quick then, but I will try to do well again on Saturday. I know the track on this game already. I know Psoon is quite quick there, so it's gonna be tough, I think, against Simixon and Psoon. But I think after today, after now knowing I am capable of doing these things again, I think I can have a good one again.
Yeah, awesome. Well, good to know that you can take things away from this. Enjoy your holiday, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
And we move on to Samaxon. Samaxon, that was a really tough one, unfortunately, with the strategy. Do you think it was like the call that you wanted to make, or how do you think it would have went if you went into the pit lane for mediums?
It happened again for the third time.
So
I just didn't pit. It happened again for the third time. I think fourth maybe. In the lead. Safety car comes out. I don't pit. I lose.
Yeah.
It was basically just it.
Yeah, it's easy to say in hindsight, of course, but when you're leading the race, it's the safer option to stay out. How were you looking at the race before the safety car?
Quite good. I mean, before the safety car, me and Haj were in DRS, and we had a gap on the car in third, which probably would have been good to just manage till the end. So that's the thing.
Yeah, and
I
then
didn't notice.
towards the end, obviously the tyre wear was changing, and you were kind of coming into it a little bit more. Without that mistake in the final moments, do you think if you were able to stay with the train, you would have been able to gain a position, or do you think maybe it wouldn't have been enough on that tyre?
No, I had no straight line speed, and it was a setup choice I made, so that was on me.
Yeah, so I guess it
Just-
was a setup choice dependent on you being in the top two.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Mistake was just made because I knew if I want to even attack, I just need to be as close as I could. So just pushing through that sector 2 was the only option for me to even try. Didn't work. Well, ended
Yeah.
how it ended.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, still the championship leader going into Australia. Bad races make good races, great races. You've won that before. Do you like it?
At this point, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't really know. Like, this season for me, it's just up and downs, and definitely the Saturdays. Like, I didn't really have a good Saturday from the start of the season.
Yeah.
So then it's just mistakes. Mistake yesterday, even though I had the pace, and today also had the pace, and I started from P1 on those mediums, and then tried to push on them, just try to get out of 1 second of Heish. Didn't work out, so then I just decided that maybe it's time to save them. So, yeah, Heish was slowly catching. I was just trying to nurse onto that front left a little. He overtook with DRS, so with me staying with him and with DRS, I managed to halve my tyre wear. And then lap 13, Jericho, Zingy, and I think, yeah, person pitted. So we pushed on lap 14 with Heish and then managed to exit ahead of them. And it was just all good till that safety car where I didn't look at the lap count. I didn't have a thought of pitting. Just, it didn't cross my mind where it should have.
Yeah.
So then,
Did you not consider pitting a lap later and just at least being on the same tyre as everyone?
I was thinking that the hard at the end would be better.
Yeah. I think it's the fair decision. Obviously, when you're leading, it's the easier decision to make to stay out. So I don't think anybody blames you.
It was just stupid from me.
I don't think anybody
I did the
blames
same.
you. It's easy to say
it
it's
was
stupid in hindsight, but I don't think it's
No,
stupid in the
it
moment.
has never worked it has never worked for me. I've only lost races because of it, and it's another one.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I do apologise, but you gave it a very good effort, and you still lead the championship going into Australia, so I hope you can have a good time there. Thank you very much, Sir Maxim, and a really good effort today. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you.
We move on to Zingy. Zingy, wow, that was insane. Yeah, that was all over the place, to be honest, up and down. Obviously, I have to ask, that first pit stop, going in a little bit earlier than the kind of pit window, as I expected the pit window to be, you didn't get a front wing change. Was that intentional, or was that an accident?
Yeah, no, that was intentional. I knew that if I just pit and had the front wing change and didn't have DRS, I would have lost the race. And just before the safety car, you noticed that I overtook Jericho, which was so vital for my race, because if I didn't overtake that car, I wouldn't have jumped highest in the pit lane because he had that 10 seconds. I'm looking at the replay as we're talking right now, and I ghosted just in front of him, so I got very lucky there.
Yep.
And then the pace was decent. I caught up to some action, obviously, on those old hards, and I got to say that it may be a bit aggressive, but that's got to be one of the best moves I've ever done on anyone. It was got to be. It was actually very smooth when you look at it from the replay. A bit of contact, but my goodness, man, it was some battle with him, which is always the case when it comes to some action. And then obviously Niffle, we had a little battle after catching up with the help of Haj, and then unfortunately Haj kind of pressured me. I had to go for a move, otherwise I would have been P3. So I'll take the P2. I'm happy for Niffle to win his home race for once, and yeah, I mean, good result nonetheless. And I really wanted to win this one because, I mean, as you know, Aaron, it's probably going to be the last time I'm going to have a chance to compete for a few months. So I try my best, and that's all you can do.
Yeah, for sure. It was a tough one. Do you think that when you were on the final lap and you were behind, did you think that you might have had a run to the line, or was that never really a thought?
You always lost a lot of time coming out the last proper corner before the banking. So my plan was to hopefully compromise him on the little mini back straight, but at that point tires were dead, just no grip, and you just kind of need to be first, because it's not the slipstream. I feel it's not as OP as it was on the last game, and same with DRS. It's a little bit nerfed, not much, but just a tiny bit. So you kind of need to be it first after that first corner. Unfortunately, I wasn't, but again, I'm very happy with that result.
Awesome. Well said. Australia, very different circuit. I mean, you've gone very well at Zandvoort, so I think I know what you're going to say, but do you like that circuit more than Zandvoort?
I like Zandvoort way more. I feel as though there's a much more of a flow to the track. Australia's a bit stop-start, but with Zandvoort, you go a fast corner to a medium into a low speed, and it kind of all flows together in one nice collective. So I mean, maybe on the wheel, it'll be a bit more smooth in Australia, but you know, I still need to practice with it, and it's not even arrived yet, so I'm gonna have to set it up as quickly as I can and get some practice in, a few hours every day at least. So I'm somewhat competitive, but I do hope that I can actually get some points and I don't DNF, because I don't want that record to be scratched.
Fair enough. Well said. Thank you very much. Really good effort today. Thank you for the race that you gave us, and we'll see you next time. Well done. And that's been it. Thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you next weekend for the Australian Grand Prix for both the Friday and Saturday tier. We won't see you tomorrow for watch along for the race, unfortunately, but we'll see you at some point for some more Formula 1 watch alongs. We'll see you next time on LSI though. Bye bye.